A blessed morning, everyone. I am Princess Erica S. de la Cruz, your discussant at this moment, and allow me to discuss the continuation of Family Code. In here, I will be discussing the rights and obligation between husband and wife, property relations, as well as the family. Rights and obligation between husband and wife. The husband and wife are obliged to live together. The husband and wife are obliged to observe mutual love, respect, and fidelity. The husband and wife are obliged to render mutual help and support. Husband and wife are expected to perform some obligations during the marriage. The Family Code says, Article 68, the husband and wife are obliged to live together, observe mutual love, respect, and fidelity, and render mutual help and support. The husband and wife shall fix the family domicile. In case of disagreement, the court shall decide. The court may exempt one spouse from living with the other if the latter should live abroad or there are other valid and compelling reasons for the exemption. However, such exemption shall not apply if the same is not compatible with the solidarity of the family. Article 70. The spouses are jointly responsible for the support of the family. The expenses for such support and other conjugal obligations shall be paid from the community property and in the absence thereof from the income or fruits of their separate properties. In case of insufficiency or absence of said income or fruits, sub-obligation shall be satisfied from the separate properties. Article 71. The management of the household shall be the right and the duty of both spouses. The expenses for such management shall be paid in accordance with the provisions of Article 70. Thus, spouses are expected to live together, observe mutual love, respect, and fidelity, and render mutual help and support. Although spouses are expected to live together, the court may exempt one spouse from living with the other if the latter should live abroad or there are other valid and compelling reasons for the exemption. When any of the parties are psychologically incapacitated to comply with the essential marital obligations of marriage, such incapacity may result to the nullity of the marriage. Property relations. June, traditionally the most popular month to marry, has passed, but still wedding bells continue to ring everywhere. Many are getting engaged, some are enjoying their bridal showers, others are busy doing their prenup shoot. Indeed, couples getting ready to tie the knot spend months or even years planning for the perfect wedding. While wedding preparation takes a lot of precious time and effort, so is preparing for marriage. Couples tend to exert their efforts preparing for the big day without, however, giving too much thought on preparing for the marriage itself. Before trying the knot, there are a couple of things to sort out other than the wedding day. Among the many things to consider are finances and property relations between the future spouses. Couples may enter into an agreement providing for their property relations during marriage. This is called marriage settlement, or more popularly known as prenuptial agreement. Once executed, the marriage settlement will govern the property relations between spouses during the marriage. In the absence thereof, the property relations between spouses will be governed by the system of absolute community of property, the default property regime under the Article 75 Family Code. In other words, the absolute community of property shall be the property regime for all marriages, unless the parties entered into a prenuptial agreement. For marriages which took place, however, prior to the effectivity of the Family Code in 1988, the default property regime shall be the conjugal partnership of kins. In their marriage settlement, the future spouses may agree upon the regime of absolute community of property, conjugal partnership of gains, separation of property, or a combination of any of the regimes, provided the terms and conditions thereof are not contrary to low morals, good customs, and public policy. Under the regime of absolute community property, all properties owned by the spouses before the marriage and those that they acquire during the marriage shall form part of the absolute community and is shared equally by husband and wife. On the other hand, under the regime of conjugal partnership of gains, only those properties acquired during the marriage through the effort or industry of either or both spouses, as well as the income or fruits of their exclusive properties that accrue during the marriage will comprise the conjugal partnership. Under the regime of separation of property, each spouse shall own, dispose of, and enjoy his or her exclusive property to the exclusion of other. The separation can be total or partial. In case of partial separation, the property not agreed upon as separate shall pertain to the absolute community. To be valid, the marriage settlement must comply with certain formal requirements. It must be in writing signed by the parties and executed before the celebration of the marriage. When a party to the marriage settlement suffering from disability, his legal guardian must also sign the marriage settlement. Once these requisites are satisfied, the marriage settlement shall bind the spouses during the marriage. However, for marriage settlement to affect third persons, it must be registered in the local civil registry, where the marriage contract is recorded, as well as in the proper registry of deeds. Otherwise, third persons who deal with either or both spouses have the right to presume that they are governed by the absolute community of property regime. Any modification in the marriage settlement must also be in writing and made before the marriage. Once the marriage has been celebrated and a particular regime has been agreed upon in the marriage settlement, the spouses cannot simply modify their property relations. During the marriage, the property regime of the spouses could no longer be changed or modified except upon prior approval of the court. In the following instances, the following absolute community or conjugal partnership was dissolved and liquidated upon a decree of legal separation. B. The spouses who were legally separated reconciled and agreed to revive their former property regime. C. When there is judicial separation of property on the ground that a spouse abandons the other without just cause or fails to comply with his or her obligations to the family. D. In the cases of involuntary dissolution of the property regime. And E. The spouses jointly filed a petition for a voluntary dissolution of their absolute community or conjugal partnership. In all instances of post-marriage modification, the spouses have to seek the intervention and approval of the court. If the marriage does not take place, the marriage settlement will be rendered void. However, provisions in the marriage settlement that are not dependent on the celebration of marriage, such as contractual support and recognition of paternity of an illegitimate child, shall remain valid despite the non-celebration of the marriage. For example, if the man recognizes the child of the woman as his own child and promised to support the child in their marriage settlement, said provision in the marriage settlement will remain valid even if the marriage does not take place. The family. The Family Code, specifically Articles 149 up to 169, defines what the family is, what family relations include, and the procedures regarding the family home. The family, being the foundation of the nation, is a basic social institution which public policy cherishes and protects. Consequently, family relations are governed by law, and no custom, practice, or agreement destructive of the family shall recognize or give an effect. Family relations include those between husband and wife, between parents and children, among brothers and sisters, whether of the full or half-blood. If there are lawsuits between family members of the same family, like quarrels among brothers and sisters regarding their inheritance, what is the requirement, if any, of the family code? No suit between members of the same family shall prosper unless it should appear from the verified complaint or petition that earnest efforts toward a compromise have been made, but that some have failed. If it is shown that no such efforts were in fact made, the same case must be dismissed. The family home, constituted jointly by the husband and the wife or by an unmarried head of a family, the dwelling house where they are and their family reside, and the land on which it is situated. A family home is deemed constituted on a house and a lot from the time it is occupied as a family residence, from the time of its constitution, and so as long as any of its beneficiaries actually resides therein. The family home continues to be such and is exempt for execution, for sale or attachment, except as hereinafter provide, and to the extent of the value allowed by law. The beneficiaries of family home are the husband and wife or an unmarried person who is the head of the family. The beneficiaries of family home are their parents, ascendants, descendants, brothers and sisters, whether the relationship be legitimate or illegitimate, who are living in the family home and who depend upon the head of the family for legal support. The family home shall be exempt from execution, force, sale, or attachment, except for non-payment of taxes for debts incurred prior to the constitution of the family home, for debts secured by mortgages on the premises before or after such constitution. The family home shall be exempt from execution for sale or attachment, except for the debts due to laborers, mechanics, architects, builders, material men, and other who have rendered service or furnished material for the construction of the building. What is the value of the family home? Article 157 states that the actual value of the family home shall not exceed, at the time of its constitution, the amount of the 300,000 pesos in urban areas and 200,000 pesos in rural areas, or such amounts as may hereafter be fixed by the law. Thank you for lending me your ears. Have a great day.